Hi, my name is Crystal Lavanos, and I'm a junior studying BEM at Wake Forest University. Last week, I had the opportunity to attend the leadership conference at the Naval Academy. So the major theme of the conference was leading from within and really knowing yourself. So we got to hear from an array of speakers, whether it was military leaders or CEOs of companies, and they all had the same message, but the way they had multiple perspectives. We got to hear a lot about what makes a leader, how they can lead, and their influence on other people's. And a lot of the things I really appreciated were the consistent values across the board, such as honesty, respect, trust. And one thing I really took away was leadership is a relationship. One of the panelists talked about how leadership is a relationship and how everything you do impacts your followers. And actually another member talked about how you follow is also how you lead. So it's all full circle, and really creating a bond and trusting with others and having that mutual respect really encapsulates a leader. And one of my favorite activities was actually having breakout discussions with other, as they call the civilians, and we had a naval student moderator. So I really got the opportunity to see many perspectives from upper level executives and military leaders, as well as people who are training and learning to lead as well. So the multitude of perspectives that was provided from this academy and leadership conference was just amazing and worthwhile and so valuable, and something I will learn from forever.
Hi, my name is Skylar Liang. I'm a junior here at Wake Forest University, and I'm a mathematical business major with a minor in Chinese language and culture. This past week, I had the privilege of attending the U.S. Naval Academy's Leadership Conference. This year's conference theme was Leadership Inside Out, Knowing Yourself First. One of my favorite things about the conference was not only meeting so many different people from different walks of life, but also getting to hear so many diverse speakers with lots of different backgrounds. My favorite speaker was the CEO of Booz Allen Hamilton, a major consulting firm. And one of my favorite takeaways from his speech, although it can sound a little crude, was you can't care about everything and everyone. And he followed that by giving a story of the time a employee emailed him complaining about her commute to work. Now, as the CEO of a company, he has a lot of issues and troubles to deal with, and this was not one of them. And his point was, you can care about the people you're working with, the impact they're making, and what they're doing for the company, but there are certain things that it's okay not to care about. Additionally, one of my favorite speakers was also Michael Bloomberg. He had a list of 10 points that he said were his most important takeaways for life, and the last one was not to take yourself too seriously. Learning to grow as a leader is, it's important to stay true to who you are and to make sure that your subordinates are very clear in your identity, because that can help create part of a team identity. And lastly, our last keynote speaker spoke about the importance of fostering a comfortable environment for everyone to learn and thrive in. It's important as a leader to make sure that people feel that they can approach you and speak to you about issues that concern them. It had a major impact on me, knowing how important it is that people can trust you and feel like they can question your decisions without them suffering consequences.
Hi, my name is Christine Pangborn. I am a junior. I am a business and enterprise management major with a concentration in consulting. And this past week, I had the pleasure to attend the United States Air Force Academy's National Character and Leadership Symposium in Colorado Springs, Colorado. It was an incredible experience from everything that we did. And this was one of the most important takeaways that I had from the entire conference, is that who you are as a leader, how you act day in and day out, and how you speak to your employees really makes a difference. So one of the things that they touched on was that attitude is not personality. So personality is what you show everyone, how you are in front of the people that you speak to and how you act day in and day out. But attitude is how you take on your work, what you do behind closed doors, and who you are as a person. And so when you reflect that onto your employees, making sure that they are enjoying their work will also reflect onto you, and it makes such a great group feeling where everyone can feed off of that and be really productive in the workplace. Another lecture that I attended was the Colorado Supreme Court panel. This was really interesting because they actually didn't come up and speak to us. It was just a set of questions that we could ask them. And one of the most interesting things that they discussed was the power, or not really the power, but sometimes falling into groupthink and how that can be avoided. So a lot of what they do is when they bring someone new on the bench, they allow them to essentially speak first in anything that they do, so that being a senior officer or being a senior person on the bench doesn't influence any of the younger members to sway any of their voting. But one of the biggest takeaways that I had was not necessarily a speaker, but having a conversation with one of my cadets. I was very excited to have the chance to talk with them about all the different things that they had learned and their unique experiences, since not all of them are 18 to 22-year-olds. A lot of them can even start when they're 23. But I asked my cadets if I could take a picture with them, just to memorize and commemorate the experience, and they thanked me. And I was like, why are you thanking me? They thanked me because they weren't in their military uniform. They thanked someone for essentially humanizing them and putting them as people and talking to them just as normal teenage girls instead of having all of the military background that they were so used to. And so they really appreciated that. And that was something that stuck with me to be able to take that into the future. One of my favorite speakers that I did go to was a man named Major Duhan. And he was a B-1, I guess it's a fighter pilot. And he talked about being able to make split-second decisions. So his plane actually caught on fire, and usually when the planes catch on fire, they have to eject and the planes crash. But in this situation, he didn't have the option to eject. It wasn't working. And so he was the first person to actually land the B-1 plane once it had caught on fire. And so he went through his 45-minute speech, and then at the end he goes, well, I just want to make this clear that this all happened within the span of 3 to 4 minutes. So being able to understand that there really is a sense of camaraderie and being able to speak with different people about that.
Hi, my name is Morgan Briggs, and I'm a senior at Wake Forest studying business and enterprise management and a religion double major. This past week, I was very fortunate to attend the United States Air Force Academy's National Character and Leadership Symposium in Colorado Springs. It was not only the first time I had attended Colorado, but it was the first time I've ever been at a military academy. So this was a very valuable experience for me to compare my college experience to some cadets that were had a very different experience than me in a lot of different ways. And it was very nice to learn from them. The symposium itself was incredibly valuable. We attended probably 10 to 12 different individual sessions, which you can choose yourself based off of your interests. A lot of them overlap, so you don't feel like you're missing out on something if you don't get to go to it the first time. But some of the lessons I learned about leadership were regarding vulnerability and courage, and how in order to be a successful leader, you have to be vulnerable in whatever way that kind of presents itself. That was one of the main lessons I took away from Brene Brown, who was the keynote speaker at the symposium, which for me, growing up and also spending my time at Wake Forest Business School, we watch a lot of Brene Brown videos, so seeing her there was really incredible instead of seeing her on my laptop screen, watching a TEDx talk or something like that. There were also a lot of really incredible military leaders, such as retired 4-star generals, prisoners of war from Vietnam, a lot of people such as that, including the Chief of the Air Force, who spoke several times. And he really emphasized personal relationships and leadership, and how it's really important to form relationships with your followers so that they trust you. And I think another takeaway I took was moral courage, even in small moments, will make a huge impact down the road when you may not be as prepared or may have something come your way that you weren't expecting. Overall, though, I would say that I would really recommend this experience, not only for just the conference, but it's an opportunity to meet a lot of different students across the U.S. A lot of them are in ROTC programs, so while Wake Forest, the students coming from the business school aren't necessarily in a military program, it's really a valuable experience to learn from them and see what their experience was like, but also thank them for their service, because it's a really valuable and honorable thing for them to do. Thank you.
My name is John Triplett. I am a senior finance major from Nashville, Tennessee. I got the awesome opportunity to attend the National Character and Leadership Symposium at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. It was an amazing experience that I got a lot of inspiration and insight from. A few of the things that stood out to me were a few of the speakers that provided some really inspiring stories. Actually, probably the thing that stood out the most to me was how one of the speakers responded to a very difficult question that he got from an audience member about his company's response and sort of political stance, and the way he responded to that question with such grace, with such acknowledgement of the feelings of the audience member really stood out to me, because it was an extremely almost hostile question, and I was very impressed at his ability to answer it well and lead to a logical conclusion. Another thing that inspired me was getting to hear some of the more military-focused speakers at the conference. One of them was a former Green Beret, and getting to hear his reasoning for why he joined the armed forces, just really wanting to serve and protect the amazing things that we have in this country, and to be a part of that and really contribute in that fashion was very inspiring to me, and seeing how that also resonated with the cadets was very inspiring. One of the other things that I took away that was really cool to me was some of the little things that the cadets would do, whether it was the freshmen having to greet someone in the morning, or recite the menus for the day, and also just those small things, and their general demeanor was very inspiring, because they were all extremely purpose-driven, all very friendly, and just awesome people to talk about with, compare my college experience with their experience at the academy, and ask them questions about what they're doing after graduation, what led them to the academy. It was really valuable for me to get that perspective of the cadets and see how purpose-driven they are, knowing exactly why they're at the academy, what they're going to be doing after graduation, and why they want to do that to serve the country and protect the rights we have here. I thought that was very valuable and a very different experience from one you'd normally get at Wake Forest. So I thought the difference between that provided a nice fresh perspective, and the cadets really impressed me with their intellectual excellence, as well as just their openness to having people like me just come into their world for a couple days, and getting to talk to them about their backgrounds and their 3 or 4 years at the academy was really valuable for me.
My name is Trey Lovu. I'm a senior BEM major with a concentration in business law, and I attended the McDonald Conference for Leaders of Character at West Point. This was my coveted leadership conference because I have a personal connection to West Point. My sister graduated from there in 2016, so for me this offered a great opportunity in two ways. One, to get closer to the life that my sister lived, which is a very unique life that cadets live at West Point, and twofold also to develop as a leader. And this was one of the most impactful experiences I've had as a Wake Forest student in my life overall. The biggest takeaway I had for the conference was about being a purpose-driven person, right? To live a purpose-driven life, and that is the best thing you can do to develop character. So it's about finding the things you're passionate about, taking the time to really find out what that is, and then doing everything you can to maximize on that talent. Finding people to invest in you because they're invested in your success. They get success from seeing you move and advance in life. One of our keynote speakers was Jack Ma, founder and CEO of Alibaba Group. And it was very interesting to see, especially in a world where CSR initiatives are becoming more and more commonplace, to see a man who's founded a company where CSR is at its core, right? And to see it thrive. And so getting to be around that man and knowing the wealth and influence he has, it was very interesting to see how open he was, right? And philanthropic, and He talked about EQ, IQ, and then he talked about a third dimension called LQ, which was, the ability for others to see the passion in what you do, and for them to become passionate, off of you, and then for your values to take core in them because they see how important it is to you. And the conference was split up, and we had senior fellows that in small groups with domestic and international students. We got to sit and on panels between our senior fellows, and then work in breakout sessions with our small groups. And that was really impactful too, because it was a great mix of domestic and international students. I got to meet people that I'll stay in contact with for the rest of my life from places that I would have never gotten to experience otherwise. There was a student from the Norwegian Naval Academy, a student from the Australian Defence Force Academy, and from Singapore as well. So just to give you an idea of the wealth of perspective that you're going to gain by going to this conference. I also got the opportunity to stay in the barracks, which are the dorms at West Point. I slept on a cot for 3 days. So it was pretty cool to get to know them. I mean, they live a very different life than we do as civilian university students. And it's very interesting to see their normal versus our normal. But it was a very impactful experience overall. I highly recommend it to anybody who has the opportunity. It's a beautiful school. Pack warm clothes. But I think that it genuinely added a great wealth of perspective to the way that I'm developing as a leader.